Fellow seekers of knowledge, my name is Luca. I'm an 8th grader, and this is my 6th year at WAB. Today, I want to take you on a journey, one that mingles the pursuit of happiness with the advancements in artificial intelligence. We stand at a very unique crossroads in human history, wherein for the first time, technology is evolving faster than ever. Thus, considering the dramatically changing variables in our lives, I would like to discuss the key to finding happiness in an increasingly AI-centric environment. But as we move deep into the future, let's turn back and look at a vital piece of ongoing research that stood the test of time, the grant study. Now, before we start, I would just like to ask each and every one of you to greet the person sitting next to you. Tell them your name, where you come from, and what perhaps was your happiest memory in your life. Please go ahead. And thank you. And what you just did was something that is officially considered the starting point of an interpersonal human relationship. This indeed is what the grant study had proven to be the key to happiness decades ago. And just for my information, how many of you here have heard about the grant study at all? Maybe a show of hands, please. I see. Well, I've got some explaining to do then. Conducted by Harvard University, the grant study began in 1938 and continues to this day, following 268 male Harvard students, tracking their physical and emotional health for over 86 years and counting. Almost all of these upper-class figures came from wealthy families. They were noted for their success in academics and all had relatively significant influence. From 1938 till this date, the grant study had undergone World War II, the post-war economic recovery, the Vietnam War, and a number of major historical events. Many test subjects have peacefully retired and lived a long and prosperous life, while others self-destruct personal health and experience very early deaths. Ultimately, several remarkable figures emerged from this pool of participants, including U.S. President John F. Kennedy and 4 other U.S. senators, as well as 1 state governor. The primary objective of the grant study was to identify the factors that contribute to, quote-unquote, long-term health, happiness, and success. George Valent, who conducted the grant study for over 32 years, precisely defined health, happiness, and success with 10 major criteria, otherwise referred to as the decathlon of success. So as you can see, wow, Valent measured success very strictly through standards such as physical and mental health, career and income, social connections, family status, and contributions to society. For instance, one has to be 80 years of age and still remain physically and mentally active to be considered healthy. At ages 60 to 75, one must obtain supportive relationships apart from those with children or grandchildren. Their wages should also be in the top 25% of the country. Ultimately, what did researchers find? The researchers discovered that above the IQ of 110, subjects' intelligence would no longer affect their career income. Introverted and extroverted personalities also had no impact on one's happiness, and that the family heritage or social status of a person had no correlation with their positive experiences in life. However, the grant study did provide results that justify that good relationships and healthy interpersonal connections have the utmost impact on our health, happiness, and eventually our success. The quality of these social relationships, whether with friends, family, or community, was the cornerstone of lasting well-being. Believe it or not, the 58 participants who scored highest on social relationships had an average annual income of $243,000 US. The 31 subjects who scored the lowest did not receive incomes higher than $102,000 per year. In addition, to broaden research conclusions and address the population beyond the elite, the grant study expanded to include 456 men from disadvantaged backgrounds in the GLUAC study. Its results significantly aligned with those of the grant studies. Those who maintain strong social relationships tend to live longer and experience fewer mental regressions as they age. Additionally, the GLUAC study highlighted that loneliness could have destructive impacts on mental health, comparable to smoking or alcoholism. In a world racing toward automation and artificial intelligence, the insights of the grant study remain remarkably relevant, which begs the question, does the results of the grant study still provide guidance in an increasingly AI-centric world? The answer is yes, it does. With AI and digital innovations at the forefront of our lives, the need for human connection is paramount. As much as AI optimizes our lives, from the first online source you use for research to producing algorithms that curate your TikTok videos, it creates a paradox. Technology today can make people feel increasingly isolated as we would spend hours and hours on screens and devices, further from those real relationships that create happiness. The grant study demonstrates that prioritizing relationships reduces vulnerability to mental health problems, such as anxiety or depression. The challenge, then, is balancing our growing reliance on AI with the need to nurture meaningful human connections. Let's draw inspiration from the latest interview featuring insights from Professor Yuval Harari, a well-regarded historian and philosopher, and Kai-Fu Lee, a world-class AI expert.
The connections we have with our family and friends, how do you feel about that as something we can hold on to, no matter how fast Gen AI improves?
I think this is extremely important. And the real question is, what do we want from relationships? If people are very self-centered, like I want to be in a relationship so that another person can provide my needs, my physical needs, my romantic needs, my social needs, then ultimately AI can maybe provide most of our needs better than any human being. But a relationship which is just based on I want somebody to provide my needs is not a real relationship. It is solipsistic. It is extremely egotistical. A real relationship is about I care about the feelings of the other entity, of the other person. Now, AIs don't have any feelings. They can imitate feelings. They can understand my feelings, but they don't have any feelings.
And as Professor Harari claims, AI is unable to foster real relationships with human beings because it simply is an artificial program without any feelings. As a result, AI does not pose as a direct barrier between human-to-human connection because while it remains highly intelligent, it does not possess consciousness or feelings, which are the foundation to relationships. Thus, artificial intelligence lacks the ability to relate with humans and will not meaningfully replace us in terms of socialization skills. My suggested compromise is therefore the integration into our lives for usefulness, not to replace us. Using AI so we can come out much stronger and fuller in terms of our interpersonal interactions, and that we should never displace person-to-person interchange and active listening. For example, what if we engineer tools to automatically remind when to call, email, or visit close friends and relatives at regular pre-scheduled intervals? An AI actually telling you to increase productivity, but more so, to preserve humanity. In fact, there are already many available AI tools that meet all of these needs, such as Reclaim AI, Clara Labs, and Motion AI, which are all devices encouraging users to virtually connect with friends and family by navigating their social media platforms and promoting scheduled activities. Therefore, applying these tools in our lives might lead us to think, how does this actually correlate with our happiness? One of the most essential factors toward navigating happiness is our definition of success. Where do we want to be? It should be apart from what has long been considered fulfillment, such as individualistic pursuits like wealth, status, and power. The grant study disputed this view, showing that emotional intelligence and the ability to form and maintain relationships are the keys to a happy life. Success will need to be redefined in our AI future. Move toward a success model that prioritizes emotional well-being, personal growth, and community connection over pure accumulation of resources. AI can significantly aid us in doing so, as long as we use its many available features correctly. Correct usage of AI often involves balancing our real interpersonal connections with screen time. My further suggestion would be to try some of the previously mentioned AI tools and then decide if they work for you or not. The grand study also pointed out the importance of resilience. How we adapt to challenges can greatly affect our happiness. In the age of AI, we will surely face disruptions, job displacement, ethical dilemmas, and cybersecurity threats. Yet, just as the study's participants learned from hardship through times of conflict and crisis in the past, we can also cultivate resilience by encouraging lifelong learning and adaptability. Finally, going forward, let us advocate for the ethical development of AI. The developers of these AI technologies have to put humans' emotional well-being in the forefront. Since the emergence of AI and the trend of AGI, people have often started to worry about potential job displacement. Parents are concerned about what major their children should choose to thrive in a society 5 years from now. In my perspective, the development of AI should be steered to challenge the unknown realms of humanity, such as space or deep-sea exploration, rather than inventing devices and programs to replace the work of ordinary laborers, such as automatic coffee machines and massage services. You might think that's out of the question, but mankind needs these daily interaction opportunities to connect with each other and cultivate new relationships. Standing at the threshold of a future shaped by AI, lessons from the grand study point us toward a deeper understanding of happiness. It encourages investing in relationships, redefining success, building resilience, and driving ethical AI development. In my view, AI benefits human relationships only when used with purpose and with effectiveness. Currently, I don't think AI will drastically change our social habits, which have developed over centuries of time. Reliance on person-to-person interchange is considered to be in our DNA. However, to prevent potential risks posed by AI, it is absolutely necessary for us to speak out and steer the development of AI to preserve authentic human interactions and avoid further means of replacement. Lastly, I would like to conclude with a quote from Steve Jobs. "I have come to the realization that life is about living and appreciating the moments we have, not just for achieving success or building great things, but for sharing love and the human experience." Let us never forget that where durable relationships and connections are established, there is the true source of life. Thank you.